Are you ready to see how to make a Barbie bathtub out of paper mache and just some random hardware? Um, woohoo! Take out our naked Barbie here. It uses washers, paper mache, just a kind of a sealing coat. You can use glitter or not. And I've got a free printable pattern on Modern Homemaker, so I'll put a link to that below. But you basically print off the pattern, and that kind of takes the guesswork out of making it. First thing you need to do is go to Modern Homemakers and print off your free doll bathtub pattern, and make sure you get both pages. It has two separate pages, and then you're just going to start cutting around. You're going to cut around the large base, the tub sides, and it says right here, but you need to cut 2 or as many as you need to go all the way around. Depends on how you tape everything, how many you'll end up needing. Now this is actually 2 separate pattern pieces, even though it looks kind of like one big circle here. So this is the smaller side for the base of the tub, and I cut the one that I provided, but I just want to show you, this is not rocket science here. To cut the next one, you just lay it on top of, you can get an extra sheet, or this is just scrap left from cutting stuff out, and you can trace it if you want, but I am literally just going to hold it on top of there. And I already cut the sides down, but I am going to cut that to match. So if you need 3, do 1 more. It's just kind of when you start taping how you do it. Depends on how many you need. And another quick trip, so you do the same thing for cutting the 2 of the big side. Lay it right over the top of another. I'm going to make a short little snip on the side here, and then continue on into my circle. And we're going to put masking tape over that, so you're not even going to know that we cut through that. Side base of the tub strip, and I have the base of the tub, which also says the part touching the ground here. Trying to make it dummy proof. And what we're going to do, I cut 3 of these. I don't know how many you'll need. It really depends on how you tape it as you're going around. But I'll go ahead and try to just get one started taped on here. We're going to get these. And it's kind of tricky. I just did one to get it started there. But we're going to be curving around the tub. So just take your time. You're not going to see this tape in the long run, so feel free to get tape happy and really get it to stick. And if you want, you can come around on the inside too, but you're going to be covering everything with paper mache, so you don't really have to. Following that nice curve. So the reason you don't know how many you're going to need is really basically the overlap of your pieces, how much overlap you do. So I would suggest you just go ahead and cut 3, unless you might need 4. Okay, here we go. I'm going to overlap these 2 pieces and just kind of connect them. And then in that same swoop, I'm going to add some to the bottom here. So that's how you do an overlap of your pieces. So go all the way around, and we'll be right back. Okay, I'm getting ready to finish up the corner over here. I've come all the way around, and I'm just going to snip it. Kind of a custom snip, just where it overlaps, like, I don't know, 1 inch. Not so good with the numbers. And we're going to attach that just like we did the other one. I'm going to go right over the overlap. And then we're going to attach again on the bottom. So now that I have tape, I went all the way around the base. Looks pretty ugly right now. You got to have faith. And what we're going to do is fill in this bottom of the, before we put the top of the base on there. And I want this to be pretty sturdy, and I want it to have some weight. So, I mean, you could shove paper scraps in there, but what I'm going to do, because I sew all the time, is I'm going to shove, I have all these things that aren't really big enough to do sewing projects out of, and I am going to fill that in there just because it's heavier and it's going to be a lot stronger. Paper over time is going to get flattened, you know, when you're putting your doll in there and stuff, and this fabric is just going to be a lot stronger. So I'm going to stuff this in. Not too much, because I still want it to be flat-ish. It might be overboard there. I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to make sure it's all tucked in. But I've got my second base of the tub piece, because remember I told you wrong, you need to print 2 of that. And we're going to do the same technique. Oh, I should have pre-torn some tape here. I'll put 1 piece there. And you want to make sure you're lined up on both sides, because it's the same exact size. Get this taped all the way around. Don't miss an inch, because you don't want fabric popping out. And I can just feel it has weight to it, which is exactly what we're going to want to keep that tub stable. We're going to set that aside. Your pattern piece that says bottom of the tub where the pretend water goes, as well as your tub sides piece. And we're going to do just like we did for the bottom. Got too much tape on my hands here. And just kind of put the pieces right next to each other to get that first one going. The trickiest piece to do. And then we're going to curve around. If you were really careful, you could have used just 2 tub side pieces. It's just barely enough. But if you're not, you're going to need 3 of those wider strips. And I've got that taped around. I didn't go as perfectly all around as I did with this, because it's not going to be holding in any fabric, and you're going to be paper machining. We're going to approximately line this up here from side to side. You can see I did not do a perfect job with my taping around. I lost my perfect shape. Oh no! Anyway, I'm going to tape on the side over here. That was my over-dramatic way of saying it doesn't matter. It's not going to be perfect. If you want something perfectly uniform, go buy your made in China plastic Barbie tub. Alright, so I'm starting at the side, and you want to make sure that your rim stays out of your tub. Although your Barbie is not a big gal, she still likes a big bathtub. You know, doesn't everyone like a big bathtub? And we want that space to go around. So follow around here, and if you're like me and you didn't do a perfect job taping, we might have to make a little extra strip here. Yep, I'm going to have a little bit of a gap there. It's pretty small. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some tape over the space. I don't even feel like putting paper in there. So see, I've just put some tape right over that tiny gap. And I'm going to pinch it into that shape so the tub still has a good shape. And this just feels weak because, you know, it's got that little bit of space. So this is one of the few areas I'm going to insist that you do tape from both sides. Ready for the easiest step of everything we've done so far? We're going to attach your tub to your pedestal. Just roll up some masking tape. You're never going to see this. This is just to make sure it all stays in place when we start doing our paper mache. Take a moment and really, before you press down on that, you can see I am further to the left. This is your chance to wiggle it. And then we're going to push down when we think we've got it centered. Okay, now it's time to go get ready to paper mache. I have a Yucky Craft table. You can see it's been through spray paint and hot glue guns and all sorts of stuff, and I just I let it be disgusting, and that's what I recommend doing. But if you don't have a disgusting table, put down lots of newspapers, black garbage bags, whatever you want to keep your stuff safe. Next thing we're going to do is take your newspaper, and I've got several thicknesses here because I'm lazy, and we're going to cut some strips. Now, I'm going to cut probably smaller than I would do for a normal paper mache project, like if I was doing like a big old piñata or something like that. But because the Barbie bathtub has so many turns, I don't want to have giant strips that I'm working with. So whatever size floats your boat, but cut up some newspaper. So after you're done with that, we're going to need to make up some sort of glue solution, which in years past I would have done flour and salt and water and called it a day, but since we've gone gluten-free, I don't just have flour sitting around anymore. So what I'm going to do is take this cheapo dollar store glue, which does not want to come open, and I am going to take, this is a cup, but I'm just going to do like half a cup. because that's probably going to take about all of it just to do half a cup. And you may need more, you may need less. I thought this would be a good starting point. So taking about half a cup, and you don't even have to measure it. I just wanted to give you something to have as a visual guide there. I always want a starting place for measurements, even if they don't end up being that. So about a half a cup of oil. And we're gonna go wash that right away. And then we're gonna take, I don't have the good measuring cups for my crafts. This is 2/3, so we're gonna fill it up halfway to get a third of water for this. So we use that entire 1/3 cup there. And get it totally incorporated. I had to get started without you because my camera battery was dead, and I only have so much time without children. So I've started over here on the side. I'm starting with the inside of the bathtub facing down. And I'm taking the papers, and I'm going to run through the yucky, messy stuff. One of my big secrets here is a wet rag so I can wipe my hands because it drives me crazy to have stuff on my hands. And I'm just kind of swiping off the excess. You can just take your fingers and run them down if you want, but that's messy. And the corners are the hard stuff. So that's what I'm going to show you. And there are a lot of curves on this bathtub. So just take extra glue and get it back in the tub if you've got too much. And we're using this paintbrush to kind of follow this curve from the pedestal to the bathtub. And there are so many curves in this bathtub that it's a little tricky. I need to pull that up a little. Like you might find yourself having to bend, like right here if you look in really close, there's just a pocket in here. Look from this side right here. You can see that pocket in the newspaper, how it's just, you know, it's just here. And you may be able to just smooth it down, but you might find that moves another piece. This is why I wanted the small pieces. So one of the things you can do is to, after you have this curve defined, go in with your finger and actually kind of bend and start dragging with your nail, which kind of makes the newspaper disintegrate and follow that new flat shape. So doing the same thing up here, I'm going to bend that pocket of paper, dragging my nail across it to kind of make it disintegrate and follow the shape I want. Because I don't want a bunch of pokey edges. I want, you know, a pretty smooth bathtub. And we're going to go one layer all the way over the bottom and kind of up to the lip. And then I'm going to let it dry for a while because I don't want to turn it over and ruin everything we just did by having that stick. So this is not a fast project. You've got to have lots of little moments over a course of days to work on it. So, compared to the curves you just did, this bottom one is a breeze. It's a walk in the park. Trying to get my excess off over here. What we're going to do is just take a longer strip, and I'm going to push it to conform with the thing. Very technical terms, thing. And I want it to go down a bit lower than it's going. Ah, there we go. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we can always trim stuff off later, like that little piece. Make sure you cover up your glue. You could put a plastic baggie over it. It's kind of like when you're painting and you want to keep it there, and wash out your brush while you're pausing so it doesn't all get ruined. I put on a second coat last night of paper mache. And it's not totally dry, but it's definitely solid and in its shape. So we're going to go ahead and flip over and start working from the other way. But one of the first things I want to do is trim. You can see around the rim of my pattern, you know, I wasn't perfect on because it's not worth trying to be perfect on when it takes 2 seconds to trim. And now we're going to be working from the inside. We're still going to do everything we can reach of the outside, like the sides, but we're not going to do anything really past the middle of here because we don't want to put wet stuff on the bottom when it's sitting on the bottom. I told you to put your glue up in a baggie, and mine's kind of double bad because I've got this leftover takeout container plus a baggie. Yep, and it should still be nice and wet. You might need to add a little water, but mine's still a good consistency. So we're just gonna start working our way across the inside. Oh, my brush is dry. It's not working with me. Anyway, so I'm gonna start probably on my rim here with some fold under technique here, just to start reinforcing that rim. I want this rim to be really strong because when Barbie goes in and out, it's gonna hit it. So anyway, I'm not gonna make you watch me do all that. The easy pieces are gonna be like down on the bottom. Those are gonna be nice and easy, but I'd say start with your rim, do your hard stuff, get that done, and that way that can be drying. And we're gonna put on a whole nother layer and then let it set up for at least a couple hours and then throw on another layer. I want to get at least 2 or 3 layers in today. We'll see how quickly it dries. So, but you can see that's how we're gonna go up around the rim here. Just make sure that stays nice and smooth. And then from this side, I've got on 4 or 5 layers. I don't even remember. I wasn't really counting very well. I think it's probably 4 or 5. Anyway, it's really thick and hard. I let it sit for a full 24, really a little over 24 hours so that it's dry. You can hear that sound. Totally dry. And now we're going to take these guys. It's called a screw hook. Anyway, I got 2 of these at Lowe's for $1.18. So we're talking 60 cents. I'll be able to make a sink or something later. And what we're going to do is come down here to the end, and I'm marking my spot a little, and we're going to kind of notch it a little with the scissors, just to kind of get it to set in there a little bit more. We're not really... Okay. Just want it to kind of go in. Now, wow, that actually stayed in there. I was expecting to break through, actually, and we're going to reinforce that with a little... That worked better than expected. So you can see I did not want to break through on this side, but I expected to break through on this side, which I was going to put a piece of masking tape there because I expected to break through, but I'm so good it didn't even happen. I am going to reinforce this with at least 1 more layer around here and here and here especially. I'm probably going to do 2 or 3, but we're going to do that, and the faucet knobs are going to be glued on, so don't worry about those. But go ahead and do another couple layers, especially focusing around here so that can't poke through over time. Just wanted to point out, I just did the stuff around here. I did several layers. Once again, if you poked through, you would have had to do the masking tape first. But I did several layers going in different directions in front of the hook, the faucet, and I did over the side, and oh, I got a little bit of glue on there. Make sure if you get any glue to get that off now. But I did several in front here. You know, the kid's going to be touching this. Our last play bathtub was plastic, and my kids totally, this was a store-bought toy, they ripped that faucet off within a month or less. And I'm going to let this dry until it's totally dry, and then we're going to paint. Okay, everything's dry. Once again, you can check that by knocking, and if it actually knocks, it's not spongy and wet. And what we're going to do, I'm using an acrylic paint. They come in way smaller containers, but I plan on doing the Barbie house piece by piece. So I went ahead and spent the $6 on the giant thing of paint because it was cheaper per ounce. What I'm going to do is turn this over, and I want to be careful not to hit the faucet. So I'm actually going to hang over my table a little bit, and I'm going to do the bottom and the sides, and I'm going to go all the way around, but just be really careful not to knock off your faucet that you just put on there. I did 2 coats on the bottom and sides, and now I'm going to flip it over. It's all dry. And I'm still going to be painting the outside each time, just not the bottom. And we're going to put as many coats as we need to make it look pretty. And I think I'm going to throw on some sparkles in a little bit because my little girl is very, very, very into glittery stuff. And the sparkles, I think, will also help even out some of these imperfections in my paper mache. Let's say I did not do a perfect job there. second coat in the center and on the sides, and I'm going to do it. This is optional, but I'm going to add some glitter because everything that sparkles is beautiful. And the stuff starts to thicken and dry up really fast, so I'm going to do this little parts at a time. But I'm just going to, and you don't have to do glitter, but I love glitter. And I'm doing this over newspaper because it's super messy, and I'll be able to use it again for stuff that drops if I want to. So, totally optional, but you can see that's going to smooth out even more of my imperfections from the paper mache. Nice little side effect there. So just little patches, continuing on. And we're going to do that all the way around and on the inside. I'm not going to bother with glitter on the bottom because you won't see it. I just swapped out the newspaper. I just did the outside and now I'm doing the inside. And here's a really good trick of why to use newspaper. All this would have been garbage, this glitter, but I kept it on there and I'm getting twice the use out of it. Isn't that awesome? And then we'll see how that fell in there. Yep, and then I need to get a little bit more glitter on the rim and on the insides. So about done with that. And then we're gonna let that dry and then we're gonna add the faucets. You can use whatever brand you want. This is from Hobby Lobby. It's a glaze. This is just kind of seal. You know, I've got glitter everywhere and it's just paper underneath it all. So it's gonna make it nice and shiny and hopefully keep stuff from flaking off as much. So gonna paint that all the way around and let it dry, and then we'll put on the faucet knobs. Oh, the sealer stuff is all dry, and you can just look, it really brought that color out. It's so pretty. And now I'm just taking nuts, like go find them in your shed or go get them at the hardware store. Watch out, I've got a hot glue gun, and hot glue can really burn you. I'm just putting some on the bottom here. And I'm going to throw that on here. These are our faucet handles. They will not turn. Do my best to make them line up there. And then, you could be done there, but I believe in super gaudiness, and I have some rhinestones here. So cold in my basement, it's like drying instantly. Ah, hot glue gun strings, gotta love it. Not enough of those. So this whole project cost me less than $3. I mean, I got like, you know, if you count like the entire large containers of paint and stuff I got, it would be a higher expense, but I got enough stuff to do the whole dollhouse bit by bit, so if I had just bought specific things for this project and used hardware I had lying around, I probably could have done this still for half the price, at least, of buying a Barbie bathtub from the store. That, picking off any dried glue before it messes up the paper mache. And now I'm just going to take a washer and I'm going to put it for the drain. Make sure that water can drain out. Now, as a side note, please don't put real water in here. And make sure your child knows they can't do that either. Because that would be one big mess. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think I'm going to do it, but the same washers that you used for the drain would also make it look like a convincing jacuzzi tub. If you wanted to put a few of these washers like on the side like that around, you could make it look like a jacuzzi tub. But that's all I'm gonna do. And just to give you a little quick peek here at the end, you can see my daughter likes to make her own Barbie clothes here. This is one of her creations. I stole a Barbie. Anyway, that's what it's gonna be like.